Hello friends, in this lesson we will talk briefly about smart objects in Photoshop. To demonstrate this, open this file lecture 15 start. A smart object is a way of preserving the pixel information contained by any layers. Now for most of the times, it's easy for us to move the things around. For example, if I select this layer and move it, it's easy. But the problem comes when we have to scale up or scale down the object. As we scale up or down any object, the Photoshop will rebuild the pixel information to make it fit. For example, if we take this red circle and scale it down, I'm pressing Ctrl T on my keyboard and resize it by holding Shift and hit enter. Now sizing down is not a problem, but when we want to scale it up, that will create a problem. Let's resize it up. Again press Ctrl T, holding Shift, I'll scale it up. Hit enter. You can see that our object is now blurred. That is because Photoshop has to rebuild the pixel information every time we scale it down or up. And in the process of rebuilding the pixel information, some of the pixel information is lost because the Photoshop is not able to reinsert the same pixel information, thus compromising with the quality of the image. But the good news is that Photoshop has designed a feature called Smart Object or Smart Layer to keep the pixel information intact. Now let's take this Smart Layer, right click on it and convert it to Smart Object. You can convert any layer to a smart object. Now when we convert any layer to a smart object, there is this small icon on the corner of the layer which indicates that it is a smart object. Now watch the difference when I scale it down or up. I'll press Ctrl T and by holding Shift I'll scale it down and hit enter. Scaling down is not a problem. The problem arises when we scale it up. So let's scale it up. Hit Ctrl T on your keyboard. Holding Shift I'll scale it up. Hit enter. Now you can see that it is as crisp as before. This is because with the smart object, the Photoshop will not reinterpret the pixel information every time we resize it. But the smart object has a few limitations. Since Photoshop preserves its pixels intact, we cannot make any direct changes on the smart object. For example, the layer is selected and if I take my brush and try to paint on this layer, my brush changes to a blocked icon, and if I click it, Photoshop tells me that the smart object must be rasterized before proceeding, and I will not rasterize it. I'll cancel it. Okay, now watch what happens on the not smart object. I'll take my brush and start painting. It paints directly on this. But to make some changes to the smart object, we need to do some extra work. To do so, just double click on this icon and the dialog box comes. Just click OK on this and the smart object will open in its own tab on its own layer. Now we can make changes. Take the brush and make changes on this and close it. It will ask to save it. We have to save it, yes. Now on this original document, the changes have been made non-destructively. It's still a smart object and the changes have been done. Now if I resize it by pressing Ctrl T on my keyboard, I'll scale it down, enter. Again I'll press Ctrl T and scale it up and enter. You can see all the pixels are preserved. Even the brush changes that I made, even those pixels are preserved. No problem whatsoever. While smart objects need a bit of extra work to make changes, they are much better for objects we need to do a lot of resizing, skewing or warping. So, smart objects is a good feature. That's all in this lesson, friends. See you in the next lesson.